Okay, let's just take a deep breath. Exhale. Oh, welcome to Korea. That we breathe here and exhale to keep our bodies fresh, to keep our minds clear, so that when you speak, we can speak maybe from a point of view or a space where we truly understand the subject. And my intro is kind of sobering because athletics is my passion. I mean, if you haven't followed me until now and you want to jump in, this is not a cult. This is I'm not indoctrinating anybody. I'm not claiming to have the gospel. I play with words. I even use the word prophet, crystal ball, a naysayer, a futurist, psychic in the psychological aspect of predicting the winners and the losers. I play with words. They call those jargons, journalistic jargons. They are very prevalent in the world of journalists, pundits. If you hear somebody says, that's a top drawer score or a goal. What do you mean by top drawer? Okay, are we together now? Thank you for listening. Let me just waste more of your time in Tukoriada. You don't mind? Yeah, just let your hair down, let your shoulders down, let your chest stick out a little bit. Kick off your shoes and turn off the lights. Don Williams, the legend. Country music, my friend. Well, let's go to the country of America and let's listen to Gabby Thomas. You know who Gabby Thomas is? She's a well-spoken woman. I have respect for people who speak well. They speak from a point of humility, understanding the ramifications of what they say. So there's a little bit of a post she did the other day on a subject that is what they call the anathema of sports, the voodoo of sports, the what do you call it, the dark side of sport, which is doping, drug enhancing drugs, EPO, whatever you call it. I've spoken about at length and predominantly on Kenyan marathon runners and distance runners and the ramifications, the banning, there being the cheaters being caught, the latest being this alleged or the fraudulent world record that was broken by Ruth Chemgetich in Chicago last year, only to be found that she was found wanting in the court system of drug testing. Gabby Thomas spoke, and I'm going to just read a few things that maybe you guys can understand. With this subject is very complicated. I don't think I have an answer. I think that's why, because we are dealing with biological component. You know, there's what they call biological passports for athletes now. They travel with a passport that maps out where they are located, where they need to be tested, and if they are not in that location, they get penalized. In fact, the latest was Fred Carri. Is it the sprinter, American sprinter, Fred Kenny? Yes, that's the name. He had domestic issues, violence, and then his whereabouts when they were trying to test him, he was nowhere to be seen, so they suspended him provisionally. So Gabby spoke, and one of the things that I'm gonna she's very interesting. She has a very interesting approach on this subject matter. The article talks of Kenya in particular. I'm talking of Fred Kelly, yeah, the American who is currently suspended for allegedly anti-doping whereabouts violation. But Kenya is at the top of the list. They're talking about almost 400 athletes in Kenya have been banned. I have a lot of question marks sometimes when I hear Kenya being the target. I understand the purging of the bad apples and the cheaters in Kenya. But is it only about Kenya? Is it only Kenya that are doing it? There's been allegations even in this country of America that they are very good in cheating and fighting the system. And some of them get being reinstated into either coaches or back in athletics to compete. Because you know the power of money, the power of the legal framework that America has. It can defend even the guilty. Yes, the trial of the century acquitted somebody who was supposedly or allegedly was a killer of a wife. You can go find OG against America. Listen, that was the biggest case you can ever see televised on TV. Why am I there? Is because America history of defending themselves, even when they are guilty, is profound. Somebody in this country is at the highest office and he's been implicated, he's been indicted of some things that is in court. It was quite open and everybody could see what they did, but they still hold an office. That's maybe the beauty and the ugly side of a country that believes in the law, that the law, yes, will be followed to the end, and yes, you stand by the law. But how does that work when it comes to Kenya, though? I mean, I'm following some stories in Kenya that are to me, very disturbing. How this punitive approach, this hard-handed, or has really targeted a country like Kenya, because yes, we have our own weaknesses. We are a shithole country. Let's just begin with that. We are corrupt to the bones, to the bone marrows, to our even our blood system could be corrupt. But could it be that they are too heavy-handed on Kenyans because most of the athletes don't have the capacity, the knowledge to understand how they can fight, or even how sometimes some of this testing can be compromised, that they're not transparent enough. The people in spaces to do that are not accountable to anybody but themselves. Could they be part of the problem, the so-called people who are instituting and policing the drug testing in Kenya? Could they be? Could the leaders themselves, the chairman of the athletics fraternity, could those leaders themselves be colluding with coaches? Because Kenya is entrenched to the bone marrows with corruption. You cannot trust what you see. You cannot trust what you hear. You can't trust what you hear on the newspaper. And they are very good in claiming that they are doing that. You hear of Kenya, they are live and extrajudicial killings to say they're eliminating criminals. And there's no follow-up. Were they really criminals? Or they were just killed because they're in the wrong place and they were suspected. Because when you don't have a system that is grounded on the law, and everything permeates and oozes from the law, so to speak, and converges and diverges from that law, and the prudency of it, and that it's been tested for a long time, you'll find that those cracks allow people to manipulate it to create a scenario that they are doing something, but behind what you're seeing is people who are just drug lords taking, offering people in the altar to look good to the Western world, to look good to the world athletics, that we are doing our job. Are you really doing your job, or you're sacrificing athletes? That's a question for another time. But let's go back to Gabby, who spoke here, and of course, there's a fallout on doping too. Apparently, there's a Ukrainian triple jumper by the name of Mariana Beck Romachuk, who won silver medal in 2023 World Championship, received a 4-year ban for doping. India's 1500-meter champion Pavej Khan was handed 6 years for multiple whereabouts failures and positive tests for illegal substance. But the Gabby story, the Gabby comments on this issue is quite interesting. I'm reading what she said. She says doping coaches, now she's going after the coaches, should be banned for life from coaching in the sport. She's not the first one. I think who was the other person who said the same thing? It was the daughter of Liz McClogan. I think I alluded to that in one of my episodes. She said that these coaches, these athletes don't do doping in isolation. People who coach them, people who manage them, they know the intricacy of doping. They know, they work together. You cannot tell me athletes just say, oh, we've been training hard all day, putting in the work, miles, workouts and track, then the next thing you know, they have drugs in the system. You can't say that as a coach. So she's saying that they should be banned if they are found to be part of the whole cartel. She wrote on Instagram, whether you are banned while competing as an athlete or caught distributing as a coach, I don't care, she says, I don't care. If you train under a coach who is known for doping, twice or even 3 times for some, you are complicit. That's my stance. And she continues. I like what she's saying. When I graduated from college, I came to the sport so naive. After 6 years, I just want better for athletes. We deserve better. My goal is to leave this sport better than I found it. And she continues to say certain things. Yes, okay, she wants it to be better, right? So I read some comments about the fact that when she's talking of coaches, she might be talking of the coaches that are very popular and they are coaching popular athletes in America at the moment. I think Ben Johnson coach was Ben Johnson was a blockbuster case for doping in the 1988 Olympics. The fallout was huge. And the coach, I think his name is Francis, was banned too for being part of the whole, understanding of what Ben Johnson was doing. But he later kind of rebranded himself or came back to life, so to speak, and he was coaching some Jamaican athletes. You can follow the story. And now I think Gabby must be asking this question too, because there's a coach here that I'll talk to you guys briefly. His name is Dennis Mitchell. Dennis Mitchell has an authority. He's notoriously known for certain things and not good things, but he's a coach. He's a coach of very popular present athlete, namely Carri Richardson and Twanisha Terry. These are sprinters. Gabby Thomas might be taking a jab at that. And if you don't know anything about Dennis Mitchell, you don't have to go very far. You can go online and find out. Dennis Mitchell was a character. He's still a character. He's a coach. And I've just told you whom he coaches. And the reason why I think Gabby is asking is because we athletes suffer more. If you talk of GST not getting paid by Michael Johnson, who suffers more? Is it the agents? Is it the coaches? No, it's the athletes. Athletes sacrifice themselves for that. And I think what I find interesting in this story is how Gabby is being diplomatic, but at the same time making a case that I think some of us have been doing, that athletes don't do doping in isolation. It's a teamwork. When you hear them commenting about their performance, they talk about, we did this, me and the coach, me and the coach, me and the agent, me and my team. So when it becomes the fallout of doping, why is it that it is just the athlete who gets banned? Why not the coach? And I find it interesting about Dennis Mitchell. And let me read to you some things about Dennis Mitchell that are very interesting, fascinating, almost like you might read this and you might like, how is he still a coach? Dennis Mitchell in 1998 tested positive for high testosterone level. That he was subsequently banned for 2 years by IAAF. And then this was his excuse, very fascinating. When he was asked why, he said that the night before he was tested and he was found with a lot of testosterone in his body, he said he had too much sex with his wife. And so that's why when they tested him, it contributed to being over the limit. He's a very interesting guy. Of course, the IAAF didn't buy his story. He was banned for 2 years. You can fast forward to 2008, during what was a federal case, BALCO steroid case, which included Marion Jones, who was a queen of sprinters back in the days. She tried to do the 4 gold medals in Sydney, didn't work out. And then she ended up in a federal court and a federal prison. He was under oath, and this with Trevor Graham back in the day. So Mitchell is wrapped up in so much of these steroids that even the federal agents or the federal case had to follow him all the way through. And so what I think Gabby is saying is that if this is the coach that is coaching Carri Richardson and Twanisha Terry, how come we are saying we are combating steroids, yet we have coaches who have a history, who have never repented They've never said this is wrong. All they've said, if they've done is made excuses. People are saying they've served their time, so they are what they have changed, or they have their approach is different. That's what she's trying to say, that if athletes have to suffer, why is it that the coaches don't carry the same cross as the athletes? It's a fascinating conversation for me, and I don't think I'm trying to say I have an answer. I'm just saying that we live in an age whereby people get away with crime and the punishment could be anything but nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I think for me, looking at how heavy-handed or how exposed Kenyans have been compared to how America has allowed some of these people to come back almost to rehabilitate themselves through the sport, is a fascinating thing to look at. I'm not saying Dennis Mitchell is part of the problem, but I'm just saying the history of this guy. If you are interested, Dennis Mitchell, 1988, the dirtiest 100 meters final you can ever see. He was in that final. So the history of a man maybe will follow him. But I think I like what Gabby Thomas is saying, is that coaches who have, in fact, there's a story of a father who was banned for life. I read it on some of the online. He was banned for life for working with his son as a coach and introducing him to steroids. And he was banned for life, and I think that's a good start. And I think you see that if a parent can be banned for life, so do coaches. Coaches end up being like fathers. They are father figures. Those are gods. So I think Gabby Thomas has a case. I think I've been very vocal about doping and how we need to combat it. And I don't think it's just an athlete that needs to be punished for this. It should be all the people involved in that athlete's life, including the coaches. Gabby Thomas, speaking my language. Go, Gabby. And by the way, she's asking for money to Michael Johnson. She said the other day, dope, where's my money? That was a dope case here. Dennis Mitchell, Gabby Thomas. How did we get there?